Thursday night football, accompanying the baseball today and tonight. Al Michaels will be on the call with Kirk Herbstreit, and it's a NFC West matchup. It's the Niners and the Rams kicking off at SoFi at 8:15 Eastern on Prime Video. Home game for you.
Dano, nothing better than a home game. You kidding? I get per diem and I get mileage. It's perfect, man.
Is there a stadium, though, that if you look back or you go to and you go, that's the best place to call a game, and then the stadium where you go, that's the worst place to call a game?
Well, Kansas City was built like in 1971 or 2, Arrowhead, and they built it vertically, and we sit right over the field. I mean, at the 50-yard line, it's perfect. That's a game that I could actually call with the naked eye and not even have to look at the monitor. SoFi is really good. The newer stadiums are a little bit higher. They're all pretty good. The worst of all time, and of course it was the worst stadium of all time as well, was Candlestick Park in San Francisco. It was cold. It was windy. I did the Giants for 3 years. But calling football, you're in a press box that was so high. One night I said, I think on Monday Night Football, I said, it's the only place where you look down on the blimp. That was the worst.
Did you ever have
of all time?
Did you ever have fog?
Even everything. No, when I was doing the Giants, and they were a moribund franchise, and they had Chapter 11, and then a man named Bob Lurie, no relation to Jeff, came in and saved the team in 1976. But it was so bad at Candlestick that one night they handed me a slip of paper with the attendance figure. We had an intern. His name was Larry Baer, who's now the president of the team. Yeah. He was an intern in the press box, and he gave me a slip of paper, and I looked at it, and I went, you know what? Tonight's attendance, why don't I just tell you who's here? Mr. and Mrs. Jim McAlpine have come in from Mill Valley. Harvey Falukian has come up from San Jose in a station wagon with the dog. Those were the days, my friend. And I had left, don't forget, I had left the Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine, because simply, obviously it was a money grab. I mean, the Giants were going to triple my salary, so what was I supposed to do? But it's crazy, since you and I, I announced the Reds, and you grew up in the area and loved the Reds. So I'm listening to the game the other night. The last time, I'd forgotten, the last time the Reds won a playoff series, 1995, I did it. They beat the Dodgers in the divisional round and have not won a postseason series since. What's going on?
What about I brought up the Big Red Machine. I think it's the best National League lineup that I can remember. You called those games with the Big Red Machine. And I'm probably biased because I was there all the time and got to listen to you call those games. But is there a National League team that would compare to them?
I can't think of one. I mean, look, you were there, as a kid. I'm announcing those games. I mean, you have Pete Rose in his prime, Johnny Bench entering his prime, Tony Perez in his prime, Joe Morgan getting traded over in his prime, Davey Concepcion in his prime, Sparky Anderson, Hall of Fame manager. I can't think of any team that, I'm sure there have been through the years some that people would say, hey, listen, they compared to that, but I can't think of one. And in my last year there, 1973, we call up our top guy from the farm system. His name happened to be Ken Griffey, Sr.
Yeah.
whose kid had a pretty good career as well.
But if you were going to call, I'm going to give you your pick of any sport to call.
Well, I used to love baseball. I mean, I built my career around baseball. I love baseball. I've been removed from it. I haven't done a game since the 1995 World Series, Atlanta against Cleveland. So obviously, I've been now involved with football prime time. This is the 40th year of doing prime time football. Between Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, I'll go to if I live long enough, I'll do it like a Wednesday 3 a.m. game. So right now it's all about football for me. Hockey is. Obviously the centerpiece, and that's the most relevant thing that, happened to me in my career, obviously with Lake Placid. But hockey's a hard game to call, a rough game. I mean, it's so fast, and obviously I have such great respect for the guys like, Mike Emmerich, who did it for years. That's the toughest game to call. But as a fan, I think I love hockey. I love it. I have a King season tickets for 33 years. Season starts next week.
But being locked in on a game where you have to call, you're constantly calling the action. Whereas baseball, you can let it breathe. Football, you can let it breathe. Hockey, you can't let it breathe.
Yeah. No, and TV and radio are pretty much the same. You almost have to do the same call that you did on radio on television. There's very little spacing there, and it's a great little back and forth between the play-by-play man and the analyst in hockey because the analyst has to pick his spots. He has to know exactly when to come in. And on that note, I mean, I just have to shout out to the late Ken Dryden, who passed away, in the past month, who was my partner in Lake Placid. And, we're in the middle of the Olympics. We're calling 7 games, including obviously the Soviet game and the victory over Finland that cinched the gold medal. And Kenny he'd never done announcing in his life. He had just retired from the Montreal Canadiens after winning 6 Stanley Cups and I think 5 Vezina trophies. It was unbelievable. He had to pick his spots, get in and out in 8 seconds. It was a tough thing to do, and he did it.
Talking to Al Michaels, he'll be on the call Thursday Night Football on Prime Video with Herbie, and that will start at 8:15 Eastern. But working with somebody else, I mean, there's chemistry, synchronicity, but how do you suggest to your analyst, don't go as long as you're going because I still have to set up the play? How do you do that in a professional manner?
Well, I think I've been lucky through the years because when I started doing Monday night, Frank Gifford had done it for a lot of years. And then we added Dan Deerdorf in 1987, and Dan had done a lot of broadcasting in St. Louis. So, the guys that I worked with are guys that have had a lot of experience. Obviously, when I had John Madden in 2002 through 2008, he understood top to bottom. Chris Collinsworth had a lot of experience. I mean, the only and I also had Dan Faust for 2 years, but I had Dan with Dennis Miller. Now that was tricky, but Dennis was so smart. He kind of figured out how to pull that thing off. But I got to tell you, those were 2 wild years. If you remember on Monday Night Football with Faust and Dendu.
The Howard Cosell relationship. How would you sum that up of working with somebody who was, there's been nobody like him since, but dealing with somebody who had an ego that he thought he was probably more important than anybody else who was playing in a game?
Well, I did a lot of baseball with Howard in the 70s and into the 80s. It was a lot of fun at first, I got to say. I mean, the one thing about working with Cosell is you knew you would always come away with a story, and I've got a million of them, right? And Howard he was fun to work with to a degree early on, and then he got toward the end of his career and life, just became bitter. And it became very, very difficult to work with him in like 1984, 1985. And finally, that was the end of Howard's broadcasting career. So, at first when, like in the 70s and early 80s, and I did a couple of World Series with him as well, he was fun. And as I say, I'd go home and I'd have, 5 stories from the night before. And then after that, he just grew tired of like everything at the end. So it wasn't a pleasant departure.
You never got close to fisticuffs like Brent Musburger with
No.
Jimmy the Greek?
No, no, not at all. No, he wouldn't have been able to handle my right cross and my left jab. What can I tell you?
Well, you would have thought that Ali would have helped him.
I would have pulled his toupee off first.
Do you want to do one more baseball game? One more hockey game?
No, not really, because with baseball, I mean, I've been out of it for 30 years, Dan, so I'm, beyond rusty. And I used to know, obviously, when I was doing baseball, I would know everybody. Now I watched the All-Star game this year. I knew like 7 guys.
Yeah.
But I will say this, man, I do love postseason baseball. All of a sudden, I mean, it's great. I mean, totally immersed in it already. So, and postseason baseball is as good as it gets. And just, it's in October, and just the way the sun is, you watch the day games and the shadows and the whole thing. It's, I don't want to say it's romantic, but I mean, it's very, very cool. I miss it. That part I miss for sure.
Where do you stand on overtime in the NFL?
I think they should go back to 15 minutes. I think it's okay for a game to end in a tie. When it was 15 minutes, it did. But the 10-minute thing is somebody. obviously the other team can get the ball now. They've changed that rule, so each team is going to get it no matter what the first team does. If they score a touchdown, the other team's going to get an opportunity. But they may only have 2 minutes. So, you might have an 8-minute drive. So I don't know why they went to the 10-minute thing. I think maybe to reduce injuries, but I mean, what's the difference at a certain point whether the game is 70 minutes or 75 minutes?
You
So
got
that's the only thing I would change. I'd go back to 15.
you got the Rams and the Niners, and here you got the Niners. A lot of interchangeable parts here. How does that change your approach tonight, broadcasting, doing play-by-play?
Well, I mean, the Niners are star-crossed. I mean, last year 6-11 because of all of the injuries, and here we go again. Brock Purdy is not playing tonight. George Kittle is still on injured reserve. Their two top receivers, Pearsall and Jennings, are out. They've got, I mean, Demarcus Robinson or Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I don't are two of their guys that are going to, be the receivers tonight. Kittle's out. They've got a rookie left guard. They've got Mac Jones starting, but he's won 2 games for them already. So I mean, the Niners they're just a mash unit right now. But it's the National Football League, and anything can happen. Meanwhile, the Rams look great. I mean, the Rams are definitely a Super Bowl contender. We were talking in our meeting last night about the offense. You've got Stafford. You've got Kyron Williams, one of the best backs in the league. Puka Nacua is over the moon. I mean, this guy is phenomenal. Now you got Devontae Adams. Higbee is a tight end. He's out tonight. They built their team, Dan, around the defensive line. What they've done with that defensive line, with Verse and Fisk, and the other guys that they've brought in and drafted, they did what the Niners did in the late '90s with John Lynch, and excuse me, not the late '90s, but like in the late teens in 2018, 19, in that area. They went to 2 Super Bowls by building that defensive line around Bosa and the other guys. Now they have none of those guys. And the Rams have morphed into what the 49ers became on the defensive front. So, I mean, the Rams are a full-fledged Super Bowl contender.
Any problem with Tom Brady being in meetings with teams as a minority owner of the Raiders?
Not really. No. I mean, you can get all the information you need without necessarily being in those meetings. No, I have no problem with it at all.
Ever been told
So,
something in the meeting that you wondered if it was true?
oh yeah, a lot. But that was in the early days. Now the guys are much better. But my favorite meeting, Mike Morris is coaching the Rams when they were in St. Louis in around 2002 or three. It's a Monday night game, and we're in there, and Mike says to us, "Hey, off the record," and he tells us something, and I have the St. Louis Post-Dispatch on the desk in front of me. I said, "Mike, here it is. It's on the front page of the sports section."
Off the record.
It became on the record while we were sitting here in this meeting. Yeah.
Uh,
Now, most of the meetings, look, the coaches understand it now, especially the younger guys, and they understand, how to deal with the media, how to deal with the broadcast folks. We were talking. It's funny. We were talking to Kyle Shanahan yesterday on the Zoom, and Kyle was talking about, every press conference now is, how's this guy, how's that guy? Is it a ligament? Is it a tendon? What is it? And so all of a sudden he says, I didn't go to medical school. I'm answering all these questions, which reminded me of one of my favorite stories. Doc Rivers, who was my partner on the NBA back 20 years ago, and Doc was coaching the Celtics like in the 08, 09 area. And I think Paul Pierce had gotten hurt in a playoff game. So the first 5 questions are about Pierce. How long is he out for? Is it an ACL? Is it a ligament? What is it? Blah, 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 blah. So after 5 or 6 questions, Doc finally looks down at the guy and he goes, "Hey, listen." He says, "You do know Doc is a nickname, right?" So,
steak before or after the game?
tonight maybe a couple of bites, maybe at halftime. But I'll have like maybe I'll have a burger at the hotel before I go over there, and then some candy corn during the game and junior mints, and maybe 2 or 3 bites of a steak. But
Maybe
tomorrow night for sure, Dan.
at Toscana?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe you can leave
Likely.
some scraps for Herbie's dog.
Absolutely. Herbie's dog's already almost 100 pounds. He's just a baby. What the hell's going on here? Crazy stuff, man.
Have fun tonight. Great to see you again. Thank you, buddy.
Always great. Always great, Dan. Take care, man. Be
Al
good.
Michaels. Al on the call with Herbie tonight, Thursday Night Football and Prime Video. It'll be at SoFi at 8:15 Eastern, Niners and the Rams.